The airlock hissed open, revealing the gleaming interior of Orbital Medical Station Alpha. Michael stepped through, the sound of his boots magnetizing to the polished metal floor echoing in the vast silence of the docking bay. The station, a marvel of human engineering, hovered in the void of space, a beacon of hope and healing among the stars. He inhaled deeply, taking in the sterile scent of recycled air, a reminder of both the advanced technology surrounding him and the sacrifices made by those who had come before. "Welcome aboard, Dr. Michael," a melodious voice called out, breaking the stillness. Michael turned, and his breath caught in his throat. Standing before him was a figure that seemed to have stepped out of a dream. She was strikingly beautiful, with skin that shimmered like the deep blue ocean under the sun, accented by a form-fitting medical uniform that clung to her curves in all the right places. But it was her eyes that truly captivated him, deep pools of violet, sparkling with intelligence, curiosity, and an almost otherworldly warmth. "I'm Wren, Chief Medical Officer," she introduced herself, extending a delicate blue hand. "I hope you're ready for some cosmic adventures." Michael felt a rush of warmth spread through him as he took her hand, trying to suppress the tremor in his fingers. The moment their skin met, an electric jolt surged through him, leaving him momentarily speechless. "Thank you. I'm ready for anything," he managed to reply, fighting to regain his composure. Wren's lips curled into a knowing smile, as if she sensed the effect she had on him. "We'll see about that, Doctor," she said playfully, leading him down a corridor lined with sleek, futuristic panels that flickered with soft blue lights. The walls pulsed gently, echoing the station's life support systems, creating an atmosphere that felt both alive and otherworldly. As they walked, Michael couldn't help but admire the way Wren moved, her graceful stride enhanced by the fluidity of her alien form. "So, Michael," she began, glancing back at him, "what made you leave Earth for this tin can in the sky?" He hesitated, contemplating the truth behind his decision. "I needed a change," he finally said, quickening his pace to match hers. "After years in the ER, I was looking for a new challenge, something beyond the mundane routine of Earth's hospitals." Wren chuckled softly, a sound that sent pleasant shivers down his spine. "Well, you've certainly come to the right place. We get all sorts up here, everything from routine checkups to full-blown alien parasitic infections." Her eyes sparkled with excitement, revealing a passion for her work that resonated deeply with Michael. "That sounds exhilarating," he replied, trying to keep his focus on her face and not let his gaze wander. He was acutely aware of the chemistry brewing between them, a tangible energy that seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment. "Oh, it is," Wren agreed, her smile widening. "Never a dull moment, though I have to warn you, the social scene leaves something to be desired. Hope you're not expecting wild parties every weekend." Michael laughed, feeling more at ease. "I think I'll manage. I'm more of a quiet nighting kind of guy anyway." He watched as her expression shifted, a hint of mischief dancing in her violet eyes. "Is that so?" she teased. "Well, if you ever want company for one of those quiet nights, my door's always open." Before Michael could respond, they arrived at his quarters, a compact yet functional space that overlooked the swirling expanse of stars outside. Wren keyed in a code, and the door slid open with a soft whoosh, revealing a room filled with the essentials of life in space. A bed that hugged the wall, a workstation equipped with advanced medical equipment, and a small viewport offering a breathtaking view of the cosmos. "Here we are, home sweet home," she announced, gesturing for him to enter. "Get settled in and report to Med Bay in an hour. We've got a busy day ahead." Michael nodded, still absorbing the beauty of the station and the allure of the woman before him. As she turned to leave, he blurted out, "Wren, I thank you for the warm welcome." She paused, her expression shifting to something deeper, more contemplative. "My pleasure, Michael. I have a feeling you're going to fit in just fine around here." With that, she slipped away, leaving Michael alone with his racing thoughts. As he unpacked his few belongings, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had stepped into a new world, one filled with challenges, discoveries, and perhaps something more intimate than professional camaraderie. The next few weeks flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Michael threw himself into his work, determined to prove his worth and not let his growing attraction to Ren interfere with his duties. Yet, it was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore the electricity that seemed to crackle between them whenever they were in close proximity. One particularly hectic day found them working side by side in the operating theater, desperately trying to save the life of a Centurion diplomat who had suffered a severe allergic reaction to Earth cuisine. Scalpel, Michael barked, his forehead beaded with sweat. Ren slapped the instrument into his outstretched hand, her fingers brushing against his palm for a fraction longer than necessary. "You know, Michael," she said, a hint of playfulness in her voice, "I've always admired a man who knows how to handle his tools." Michael nearly fumbled the scalpel, caught off guard by her suggestive tone. He glanced up, meeting her gaze over their surgical masks, trying to discern if she was flirting with him or simply lightening the mood. "Focus, Doctor," he muttered, forcing himself to concentrate. "We've got a life to save here." Ren's eyes crinkled with amusement, the tension in the air almost palpable. "Oh, I'm very focused on multiple things at once. In fact," as their operation stretched on for hours, a delicate dance of precision and teamwork, Michael found himself increasingly aware of Ren's presence. Her calm demeanor guided the medical team, her voice smooth and steady as she orchestrated their efforts. By the time they finally closed up the patient, both doctors were exhausted but exhilarated. "Nice work in there," Michael said as they scrubbed out, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. "You've got steady hands." Ren raised an eyebrow, her expression turning playful. "Oh, you have no idea just how steady they can be, Doctor." Michael felt heat creeping up his neck. "Ren, She cut him off, stepping closer, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "What's stopping you?" The air between them felt charged, a moment suspended in time, until the shrill beep of Ren's communicator broke the spell. She sighed, stepping back as the station's alarm system blared to life, red emergency lights bathing the room in an eerie glow. "All medical personnel report to the main bay immediately. This is not a drill," a computerized voice announced. "Duty calls," Ren said, giving Michael a meaningful look before rushing out. As he followed her, Michael's mind raced. He had come to this station looking for a new challenge, a chance to push his medical skills to the limit. But he was quickly realizing that the biggest challenge he faced might have nothing to do with medicine at all. The emergency protocol. As the klaxons echoed through the corridors of Orbital Medical Station Alpha, Michael felt a rush of adrenaline surge through him. The flashing red lights painted the stark walls in ominous hues, creating a surreal atmosphere that felt like something out of a sci-fi movie. He sprinted toward the med bay, his heart racing, thoughts of Ren's playful banter replaced by the urgency of the moment. When he reached the med bay, he was met with a scene of organized chaos. The small, sterile room buzzed with activity, the team already mobilized and preparing for whatever crisis awaited them. Ren stood at the center, her presence commanding, directing nurses and technicians with an efficiency that left Michael in awe. "Michael, over here," Ren called, waving him over. She was in her element, exuding confidence that sent shivers down his spine. He rushed to her side, ready to assist in whatever way he could. "What do we have?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "An emergency transport just arrived," Ren explained, her violet eyes focused on the incoming stretcher. "Multiple casualties from a mining accident on Tethys Station. We need to triage and assess as quickly as possible." As the stretcher rolled in, Michael's heart sank. The patients, 2 miners, were barely conscious, their bodies battered and bruised, a dark red fluid seeping from a wound on one of them. The other was in shock, shivering despite the ambient temperature control. "Get the portable scanner," Ren shouted, her tone leaving no room for hesitation. Michael dashed to retrieve the device, the sleek, handheld scanner humming to life as he activated it. He returned just in time to see Ren kneeling beside a more severely injured miner, her hands gliding over his wounds as she assessed the damage. "Stabilize him first," she instructed, glancing at Michael as he positioned the scanner over the patient's chest. The device beat and whirred, analyzing vital signs. "Heart rate is critical. We need to get him stabilized before we can do anything else." Michael's fingers flew over the controls, his training kicking in as he relayed information to Ren. Heart rate at 150, blood pressure dropping. He's losing consciousness fast. "Administer oxygen, then prepare a fluid transfusion," she ordered, her voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. "We can't let him go under. He needs to stay alert." As Michael quickly set up the oxygen mask, he could see the determination etched on Ren's face. It was a stark reminder of why he had come to the station, to be part of something greater than himself, to save lives in ways that transcended the boundaries of Earth. And here he was, right in the thick of it, working alongside someone he found utterly captivating. "Michael, focus," Ren snapped, pulling him back from his thoughts. "We need to work together. I can't do this without you." "Right, I'm on it," he replied, shaking off the distraction. The reality of the situation pulled him back in, and he felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were in this together, and he couldn't afford to let his admiration for her sidetrack him. After a flurry of activity, they finally managed to stabilize the first patient. Ren's hands moved deftly as she applied the necessary bandages, her brow furrowed in concentration. The other miner, now being wheeled in, required immediate attention. "Get ready for a chest tube," Ren commanded, her eyes darting back to the second miner. "He's in respiratory distress." Michael's hands moved quickly, the weight of their task settling in. "Ren, he's also exhibiting signs of a severe reaction. His skin is turning mottled." "Adrenaline, now," she called, her voice rising above the din of the med bay. Michael swiftly retrieved the injector from the supply cabinet, adrenaline coursing through him as he filled the syringe. "On 3, Ren said, positioning herself to help hold the miner steady. 1, 2, 3. They both administered the injection simultaneously. The miner's body convulsed slightly, but after a tense moment, his breathing steadied. Michael exhaled, feeling a wave of relief wash over him. "Good job," Ren said, her voice softer now as they both stepped back to assess their work. "You handled that well, especially for your first emergency." "Thanks," Michael replied, a smile creeping onto his face. The moment felt monumental, a shared victory in the face of chaos. Yet, as he caught her gaze, he sensed an undercurrent of something more profound between them, an unspoken bond forged in the heat of the moment. Before they could revel in their success, the doors to the med bay slid open once more. The commotion outside spilled in as additional medical personnel rushed in, wheeling in more injured miners. The urgency returned, pushing aside any lingering thoughts of their connection. "We need to establish a triage system," Ren said, already slipping back into her authoritative role. "Get those who are stable to recovery bay. We'll handle the critical cases here." Michael nodded, moving to assist with the influx of patients, but his mind kept drifting back to Ren. How did she manage to balance such strength with an undeniable grace? It fascinated him and left him eager to learn more about her. As they worked tirelessly for hours, their bodies moved in sync, each anticipating the other's needs without words. The chaotic atmosphere faded into a rhythm, a dance of urgency and skill. Finally, as the last patient was treated, the room fell silent, the frenetic energy giving way to a shared sense of accomplishment. Ren leaned against a counter, wiping sweat from her brow. "We did it," she said, her voice a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "Yeah, we did," Michael agreed, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. "That was intense, but I've never felt more alive." Ren looked up, a smile breaking through her fatigue. "You really are a natural. I knew you'd fit right in." Michael felt his heart flutter at her words, emboldened by the compliment. "Thanks, but I couldn't have done it without you. You kept me grounded." Her gaze lingered on him, an electric silence hanging in the air. For a moment, he felt the weight of everything unsaid between them. But before he could gather the courage to speak, the comm system crackled to life. "Attention all medical personnel, please report to the main hall for a debriefing," the voice announced. "Duty calls again," Ren said, straightening up. "Let's go see what they want." As they left the med bay together, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a journey that would test not only his medical skills, but also his ability to navigate the complexities of his growing feelings for Ren. The station buzzed with life around them, a microcosm of humanity's ambitions and struggles in the stars. He was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to not only excel as a doctor, but also to explore the enigmatic connection he shared with the chief medical officer. Little did he know that the journey was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would shake the very foundations of their burgeoning relationship. Unraveling the connection, the emergency debriefing in the main hall was a whirlwind of reports and statistics, but Michael's mind drifted as he sat in the packed room, the chaotic atmosphere around him feeling almost surreal. He couldn't shake the exhilaration of their earlier efforts in the med bay, the adrenaline still pumping through his veins. Glancing over at Ren, he noticed her focused expression as she listened to the commanding officer outline the next steps for the team. "Okay, team," Captain Stroud said, his voice booming through the hall, cutting through the chatter. "Great job today. We've received high praise from Tethys Station. However, we have to be prepared for potential fallout. Injuries can lead to complications, and we need to be ready." Michael's attention snapped back as Ren took notes, her pen gliding smoothly across the tablet, her brow furrowed in concentration. The sheer intensity of her focus was mesmerizing, but it was the moments of their earlier teamwork that lingered in his mind. He remembered the way her hands had moved so confidently, the warmth of her presence beside him, and the thrill of working in tandem during the crisis. As the meeting droned on, Michael caught snippets of discussions about supply shortages and potential evacuations, but all he could think about was how he could be closer to Ren. "Michael," her voice jolted him from his thoughts. He turned to find her looking directly at him, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "You have that look on your face again." "What look?" he asked, feigning innocence even as he felt his cheeks warm. "The I'm distracted by how amazing you are look," she teased, nudging him lightly with her shoulder. "It's a bit obvious, don't you think?" Michael felt a rush of heat flood his cheeks, the playful banter doing little to disguise the sincerity behind her words. "Guilty as charged," he admitted, his heart racing. "It's just, being here with you, it feels different, in a good way." Ren's expression shifted slightly, the teasing smile fading into something more serious. "You know, it's easy to get lost in this environment. The work, the constant emergencies, it can make you forget about everything else." She paused, her gaze drifting as if she were contemplating the vastness of space beyond the station walls. "But it's also those connections we make that remind us why we do this." Her words struck a chord within him, a deep resonance that echoed his own thoughts. The station was filled with a unique energy, a blend of desperation and hope, and here, amidst the chaos, he had found an unexpected anchor in Ren. "Maybe we should explore those connections more," Michael suggested, a hint of boldness creeping into his voice. "Outside of work, I mean. There's a lot we can learn from each other." Ren turned to him, her expression softening. "I'd like that," she replied, her tone genuine. "But first, let's survive this debriefing." As Captain Stroud concluded the meeting, assigning follow-up tasks, Michael felt a wave of anticipation wash over him. They had a chance to spend time together, to delve deeper into what had been ignited between them. The thought both thrilled and terrified him. After the debriefing, they exited the hall together, the bustling energy of the station surrounding them. The corridors were filled with fellow medical staff, all buzzing with the aftershocks of their recent ordeal. "Let's grab something to eat," Ren suggested, glancing over at him with an inviting smile. I don't know about you, but I could use some sustenance after that. Sounds perfect, Michael replied, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. They made their way to the station's cafeteria, a spacious area filled with the scent of synthesized food and the low hum of chatter. As they sat down at a corner table, the atmosphere shifted. The stress of the day melted away as they began to share stories about their lives before the station. Ren revealed snippets about her home planet, Veridonia, a place of vibrant colors, lush landscapes, and unique cultures that seemed to leap to life in her descriptions. It's so different from Earth, she said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. The sky shifts colors at dawn and dusk, and there are these magnificent floating islands where the flora and fauna coexist in ways you wouldn't believe. Floating islands, Michael echoed, captivated. That sounds like something out of a dream. Ren nodded, her expression wistful. It truly feels like magic, but I love it here too. Working on a station, meeting new people, and saving lives, it's rewarding in ways I never anticipated. Michael leaned forward, genuinely intrigued. What made you want to become a nurse? Ren hesitated for a moment, her gaze drifting as if she were recalling a distant memory. I grew up wanting to help people. On Veridonia, we have a strong sense of community, and from a young age, I was drawn to healing. My mother was a healer, and she taught me the importance of compassion. I wanted to follow in her footsteps, but also venture out and explore the universe. As she spoke, Michael felt a warmth blossom within him, an admiration that went beyond her skill as a nurse. It was her passion, her commitment to making a difference in the world around her that resonated deeply with him. Your mother must be proud, he said, meaning every word. Thank you, Ren replied, her voice softening. What about you? What brought you to Orbital Medical Station Alpha? Michael chuckled lightly, the lightness of the conversation dispelling any lingering tension. Honestly, I thought it would be an adventure, and it is, but it's also more intense than I expected. The stakes are high, but I love it. There's something exhilarating about being at the forefront of medical technology and patient care. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, each word strengthening the connection that had begun in the med bay. As they ate, Michael couldn't help but notice the way Ren's laughter danced in the air, the way her eyes sparkled with joy, and how every shared smile felt like a small victory. Okay, enough about our work lives, Ren said, her eyes mischievous. What do you do for fun? Fun, Michael pondered, a grin spreading across his face. I like to explore new places, try different foods, and I'm a sucker for a good sci-fi novel. How about you? I love to dance, Ren declared, her eyes lighting up. There's something freeing about it, and the music from Veridonia is incredible. It has a rhythm that just pulls you in. You should come to one of our cultural nights sometime. The idea of experiencing Veridonia's music and culture ignited a thrill in Michael. I'd love that. Maybe you could teach me some of those dance moves too, he said, his heart racing at the thought of sharing such a personal experience with her. As they finished their meal, the cafeteria around them began to empty, but the warmth between them lingered, a palpable force. They talked about everything from music to movies to their favorite foods, each revelation pulling them closer together. I have to admit, I didn't expect to find such a connection here, Michael said, the honesty in his voice surprising even him. Not in the middle of a medical emergency of all things. Ren met his gaze, her expression earnest. Neither did I. But sometimes, the most unexpected moments lead to the most meaningful connections. The air between them thickened, an electric tension sparking as their eyes locked. For a moment, it felt like time stood still, and all the chaos of the station faded away, leaving just the two of them in a bubble of understanding. Then, almost as if the universe conspired to break the spell, the loudspeaker crackled again. Attention all staff, we have a new emergency situation unfolding on the surface. Please prepare for immediate deployment. Michael felt the familiar rush of adrenaline course through him, pulling him back into the reality of their situation. "Looks like we're needed again," he said, his heart sinking slightly at the thought of their conversation being interrupted. "Duty calls," Wren replied, standing up and gathering her belongings. But there was a glimmer in her eyes, a shared understanding that this wouldn't be the end of their connection. As they made their way back toward the med bay, Michael stole glances at Wren, his mind racing with thoughts of their conversation, the potential of what lay ahead. They were in the midst of chaos, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something extraordinary, both in their work and their lives together. The call to action. The alarm blared through the corridors of Orbital Medical Station Alpha, a shrill reminder that chaos never really ceased in the vastness of space. Michael and Wren exchanged a determined glance as they rushed to the med bay, their hearts already racing in sync with the urgency of the situation. "Medical teams, report to your stations." The intercom crackled, echoing through the sterile white hallways. The familiar scent of antiseptic filled the air, but today there was an undercurrent of anxiety as the staff scrambled to prepare for the incoming casualties. "What do we know?" Michael asked, pulling on his medical scrubs and gathering his gear. "Reports indicate a mining accident on the surface of Tethys IV," Wren replied, her voice steady despite the growing chaos. "Structural collapse in one of the main shafts. Multiple injuries and possible fatalities. We're expecting a large number of casualties in a short time frame." Michael's heart sank at the news, but he felt the familiar rush of adrenaline kicking in. "We need to prioritize triage. Set up a staging area for incoming patients. I'll coordinate with the surgical teams." Wren nodded, her expression resolute as they moved with purpose through the bustling med bay. Staff members darted around, gathering supplies, preparing equipment, and getting ready for the onslaught of patients. "Michael, over here." One of the nurses called, waving him over to the triage station. "We're starting to get updates from the surface." As Michael joined the group, Wren moved seamlessly between stations, directing personnel and ensuring everyone was in sync. Watching her work was like witnessing a master conductor leading an orchestra, every move purposeful and deliberate. The tension in the air seemed to crackle around her, a testament to her confidence and experience. "Okay, we have our first wave coming in," the nurse said, her tablet buzzing with alerts. 3 severe trauma cases, 1 with a crushed leg, and 2 unconscious. "Prepare the OR for immediate surgery," Michael commanded, his mind already strategizing how to tackle the injuries they were about to face. "We'll need 2 teams. Wren, you take point on the triage. I'll manage the surgeries." "On it," she replied, her eyes locking with his for a fleeting moment, an unspoken promise passing between them. As the first stretchers rolled in, Michael felt the familiar blend of urgency and focus wash over him. He moved quickly, assessing the injuries, barking orders to his team as they stabilized the patients for surgery. Wren was a whirlwind of efficiency at the triage area, her calm demeanor a beacon amidst the frantic energy of the med bay. "Next patient," she called, guiding the incoming casualties with precision. Each patient told a harrowing story, the miner with a severe laceration to his abdomen, the young technician who had suffered multiple fractures, and the older supervisor who seemed barely conscious, his breathing shallow and labored. They needed every ounce of their skills and resources to keep the situation under control. "Michael, I've got another case," Wren shouted, her voice carrying over the din. "This one's a critical. We need to get him stabilized before he crashes." Without hesitation, Michael rushed over, assisting Wren as they worked together seamlessly. Their movements were fluid, instinctual, years of training and experience blending into an unspoken language that only they understood. As they worked, Michael couldn't help but steal glances at Wren, her brow furrowed in concentration, her lips set in a firm line. There was something extraordinary about witnessing her in this environment. She was fierce and focused, a force of nature determined to make a difference. With each passing moment, they faced more patients, and the gravity of their work intensified. Hours flew by, The once vibrant med bay, now a whirlwind of activity and tension. Each successful stabilization felt like a victory, but the emotional toll of witnessing suffering weighed heavily on Michael's heart. Finally, as they took a brief respite in the supply room, the noise of the med bay faded to a dull roar outside. Ren leaned against the wall, her face flushed with exhaustion and exhilaration. "I've never seen anything like this," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's intense, but we're making a difference, aren't we?" Michael nodded, his heart swelling with pride for their team. "We are. You're incredible out there, Ren. You lead with such strength and compassion." Her cheeks flushed slightly, and she brushed a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "Thank you, but it's a team effort. I couldn't do this without you and the others." In that moment, the air between them shifted again, thick with unspoken feelings. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap that had formed in their earlier conversation, to acknowledge the connection that had sparked in the med bay and beyond. Before he could gather his thoughts, the intercom blared once more, cutting through the fragile intimacy they had created. "All medical staff, please report back to your stations. We have another wave of patients arriving." They shared a brief, knowing glance, both aware that their moment of vulnerability would have to wait. Duty called, and they were ready to answer. As they returned to the chaos of the med bay, the adrenaline surged once more, a familiar rhythm taking hold. Michael fell back into the rhythm of assessing injuries, collaborating with the surgical teams, and communicating with Ren, who continued to shine as a guiding force through the storm of chaos. After hours of grueling work, they finally managed to stabilize the last of the patients. As they stepped back to catch their breath, the gravity of their accomplishments began to sink in. They had saved lives today, fought against the odds, and emerged stronger as a team. Michael glanced at Ren, who was wiping sweat from her brow, her expression wary but triumphant. "We did it," he said, a smile breaking through the exhaustion. "We really did it." "Yeah," she replied, returning his smile with one of her own. "I can't believe we pulled it off, but it was a team effort." As the tension in the med bay began to ease, a sense of camaraderie enveloped them. They shared stories of the patients they'd saved, the near misses they had experienced, and the lessons learned in the heat of the moment. Laughter punctuated their conversations, weaving a thread of connection that deepened with every shared experience. As the shift began to wind down, Ren turned to Michael, her eyes sparkling with an energy that belied her exhaustion. "You know, once we get through this shift, I think we deserve a celebration. Maybe we could grab dinner off station." The suggestion sent a jolt of excitement through him. "Dinner sounds amazing." "I'd love that," he replied, his heart racing at the prospect of spending more time with her. "But how about a dance afterward? You mentioned you love to dance, right?" Ren's laughter rang out, a bright sound that lit up the tired med bay. "Are you serious? You want to dance with me after all this?" "Absolutely," Michael said, his tone playful yet sincere. "I want to see if I can keep up with you." Her smile widened, a genuine warmth radiating from her. "You're on. Just be warned, I have some pretty impressive moves." As their eyes met, he felt that electric spark again, a thrilling possibility that transcended the chaos of their surroundings. In the midst of their demanding jobs, they had found something precious, a connection that was blossoming against the backdrop of their extraordinary lives. With the promise of dinner and dancing lingering in the air, Michael couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning of something incredible. Together, they were navigating the challenges of their world, finding joy in each moment, and forging a bond that would transcend the stars. Whispers of the heart. The med bay was quieter now, the frenetic energy of the earlier hours replaced with an air of relief and exhaustion. Michael leaned against a wall, the sterile environment slowly settling into a rhythm of recovery as the remaining patients stabilized. He glanced over at Ren, who was seated at the nurse's station, poring over patient charts with a determined expression. She looked up, catching his eye, and smiled softly. "Hey, do you have a moment? I could use your opinion on these charts." Absolutely, he replied, pushing off the wall and making his way to her side. What do you need? Wren pointed to the screen, her brow furrowing slightly as she explained the details of one particularly complex case involving a miner who had sustained significant trauma. I think we need to plan for follow-up surgeries, but I'm torn between a conservative approach and a more aggressive intervention. What do you think? Michael leaned closer, studying the data on the screen. As he listened to Wren explain her thoughts, he felt a surge of admiration. Her passion for her work was palpable, and her dedication to her patients was inspiring. I agree with your instincts. He's young, and with the right support, he could recover well. We should schedule that follow-up surgery sooner rather than later. Wren nodded, her eyes lighting up with appreciation. Thank you. I always value your input, especially in cases like this. Their fingers brushed against one another as they both reached for the tablet, an innocent touch that sent a ripple of electricity between them. Michael felt his pulse quicken, the moment stretching in a way that felt heavy with unspoken tension. Ready for our dinner? He asked, forcing himself to break the spell, though the warmth of her hand lingered in his memory. Definitely, she replied, her smile returning full force, dispelling the fatigue of their long shift. I can't wait. It's nice to think about something other than patience for a change. As they clocked out and exited the med bay, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that tonight was more than just dinner. It was a stepping stone into a new chapter of their relationship. The soft glow of the station lights illuminated the path ahead, and the hum of activity around them felt vibrant and alive. They made their way to the station's dining area, an expansive space with large windows offering a stunning view of the surrounding stars. The endless expanse of the cosmos sparkled beyond the glass, each star a reminder of how small they were in the grand scheme of things. Yet, here together, it felt like their own universe was unfolding. What do you think? Michael asked, gesturing toward a table by the window, the perfect spot for a view of the stars. I love it. It's beautiful, Wren exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. They settled into their seats, the ambience of the dining area calming their earlier tensions. As they perused the menu, Michael couldn't help but steal glances at Wren. She was radiant, her excitement palpable as she flipped through the options. So, what do you recommend? She asked, looking up from the menu. Honestly, the alien seafood stew is incredible. It's a local specialty, he said, leaning back in his chair, feeling a sense of comfort wash over him. But if you're feeling adventurous, the stardust-infused pasta is out of this world. Wren laughed, her eyes sparkling. You're really selling it. Okay, I'm in for the seafood stew, and we definitely need to share some of those desserts. Their order placed, the conversation flowed easily, each exchange deepening the bond they had forged in the med bay. They shared stories of their families, their journeys to the station, and the moments that had led them to this very dinner. I always knew I wanted to be in medicine, Wren said, her voice softening as she spoke about her past. My mother was a nurse, and I spent a lot of time in the hospital as a kid. I loved watching her help people. I guess I just wanted to follow in her footsteps. Michael smiled, feeling a sense of connection. My mother was a scientist. She taught me to always be curious, to question everything. I think that's why I'm drawn to emergency medicine. Every case is a new puzzle to solve. They laughed and chatted, the food arriving like a blessing in the midst of their long day. The aroma of the stew filled the air, warm and inviting, as they savored each bite. Wow, this really is amazing, Wren exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. I'm glad I took your recommendation. You have excellent taste. Thanks, but I can't take all the credit. I'm just good at eating, Michael joked, their laughter echoing in the intimate setting. As they finished their meal, the conversation shifted to lighter topics, favorite movies, their guilty pleasures, and even a spirited debate about the best sci-fi series. With each passing moment, Michael felt the invisible threads binding them together grow stronger, wrapping around them like a cozy blanket. Okay, but you have to promise me that if you ever find yourself on the dance floor, you won't leave me behind, Wren teased, her eyes glinting with mischief. Michael chuckled, leaning forward. I promise. I'll be right there, making a fool of myself next to you. Just don't expect me to have any actual skills. That's okay. I'll teach you, she replied, her laughter brightening the dimly lit dining area. Their playful banter continued until they both leaned back in their chairs, the weight of the day beginning to settle into a comfortable tiredness. Ready for dessert? Michael asked, glancing at the menu again. Wren's eyes sparkled with anticipation. Absolutely. What do you recommend? As he began to read the options, his voice faltered when he felt her gaze on him, a soft intensity that made his heart race. How about we share the galactic chocolate torte? It's rich and indulgent, just like our day. That sounds perfect, she replied, her smile widening. And I think it's the perfect ending to our crazy day. Once their dessert arrived, Michael marveled at the artistic presentation, a delicate torte drizzled with a shimmering glaze that sparkled under the ambient lights. They both dug in, and as the rich chocolate melted in his mouth, he couldn't help but feel that this moment was a sweet reward for all their hard work. You know, he began, pausing to savor the taste. I'm really glad we decided to do this. I've enjoyed every moment with you tonight. Wren's expression softened, her eyes searching his. Me too, Michael. It's been a long time since I've felt this connected to someone. The air around them shifted, and the warmth of her words wrapped around him like a soft embrace. I feel it too, he admitted, his heart pounding. You make everything feel brighter. Just then, a group of station staff burst into laughter nearby, shattering the moment with their boisterous energy. Michael couldn't help but chuckle, glancing at Wren, who rolled her eyes playfully. Some people just can't take their work seriously, she said, shaking her head. But I guess they're entitled to unwind after a long shift. True enough, he agreed, feeling grateful for the light-hearted atmosphere that surrounded them. Yet, he couldn't shake the intensity of the moment they had just shared. He wanted to dive deeper, to explore what lay beneath the surface of their burgeoning relationship. Wren, he began, his voice softer now, can I ask you something? Of course, she replied, her curiosity piqued. What are you looking for? I mean, in life, in relationships. The question hung in the air, and for a moment, he worried he had overstepped. But Wren's expression was thoughtful as she considered her response. I guess I'm looking for someone I can share this crazy journey with, she finally said, her voice steady and sincere. Someone who understands the demands of our work and still finds joy in the little moments. I want someone who makes me laugh and challenges me to be better. Michael felt a spark of hope. I think I'm looking for the same thing, he confessed. Someone who sees the world through the same lens of curiosity and passion. I want to build something real. Her eyes searched his, a myriad of emotions flickering in their depths. I'm glad to hear that, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Because I feel like we're on the same path. Just then, the dessert plates were whisked away by a server, but the moment lingered between them, charged with the potential of something deeper. They shared a glance filled with promise, the space between them growing smaller as their connection solidified. Dance, Michael suggested, standing and extending a hand to her. It's time to celebrate. With a bright smile, Wren accepted his hand, her warmth wrapping around him like a familiar embrace as they made their way to the small dance floor nestled against the panoramic window. The music played softly, a gentle rhythm that filled the air and invited them to sway together. As they began to move, Michael pulled her closer, the world outside fading into a beautiful blur of starlight. Wren fit perfectly in his arms, her laughter mingling with the music as they twirled and stepped across the floor, lost in the moment. You really can't dance, can you? Wren teased, her voice playful as they spun in a circle. Hey, I'm trying my best, he laughed, trying to keep up with her fluid movements. You're doing great for someone who said they had no skills, she replied, her eyes sparkling with joy. Just follow my lead. With each beat, their chemistry intensified, the world around them disappearing as they lost themselves in the rhythm. Michael felt lighter, freer, as though he had shed the weight of the day. The connection between them thrummed like an electric current, and he could sense the unspoken feelings lingering in the air. As the song faded, Michael found himself gazing into Wren's eyes, the moment stretching as their breathing slowed. The atmosphere shimmered with possibility, and he could almost hear the unvoiced questions between them. "Can I tell you something?" Michael asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Of course," she replied, her expression earnest. "I think you're incredible. You inspire me every day, and I can't help but feel this connection between us. I want to explore where it might lead." Wren's breath caught, her surprise evident. "I feel it too, Michael. There's something special about us. I can't ignore it." Just then, the music shifted, and a new song began to play, a slow, haunting melody that wrapped around them like a soft caress. With a gentle tug, Michael drew Wren closer, their bodies swaying in time with the rhythm. In that moment, everything felt right. The world beyond the walls of the station faded away, and all that remained was the two of them, wrapped in a cocoon of shared dreams and whispered hopes. As the song unfolded, Michael leaned closer, his breath mingling with hers. "Wren," he murmured, "can I kiss you?" Her eyes widened, a mix of surprise and anticipation dancing within their depths. "Yes," she breathed, her voice a soft invitation. He hesitated for just a heartbeat, savoring the anticipation, before leaning in and capturing her lips with his own. The kiss was tentative at first, a gentle exploration that deepened as their emotions poured into the moment. Her hands found their way to his shoulders, pulling him closer as the world around them dissolved completely. Time seemed to stand still as they melted into each other, the weight of their days falling away, leaving only the warmth of shared connection. Michael's heart raced as he felt her surrender, the thrill of possibility igniting something profound within him. As they pulled away, breathless and glowing, Wren's smile was radiant, a beautiful reflection of the moment they had just shared. "Wow," she whispered, her voice a mix of disbelief and elation. "That was amazing." "I think we should do that again," Michael said, unable to suppress the grin that spread across his face. "Yes, I definitely agree," she replied, her laughter ringing out like music. With a shared glance, they fell back into the rhythm of the dance, the stars outside twinkling in approval as they embraced the promise of what lay ahead. The station, with all its chaos and challenges, suddenly felt like a place of endless possibility. Tonight, they had crossed an uncharted territory together, carving out a space for connection amidst the stars. And as they continued to dance, Michael knew deep down that this was just the beginning of an extraordinary journey they would navigate together. Bound by stars. The following weeks on the station became a kaleidoscope of shared moments and deepening connections for Michael and Wren. Each day brought new challenges, but their bond only seemed to strengthen in the midst of the chaos. The rhythm of their lives intertwined seamlessly, both within the med bay and beyond, as they navigated the demands of their roles while carving out precious time for each other. In the mornings, they often found themselves arriving at the med bay at the same time, sharing quick breakfasts of nutrient bars and steaming cups of coffee. Wren had a knack for making even the blandest meals feel exciting, adding her own blend of spices that infused life into their routine. "Did you know this is actually my secret recipe?" she teased one morning, winking as she handed Michael a cup. "I call it caffeine surprise." "Caffeine surprise, huh?" he replied, taking a sip and nodding appreciatively. "Tastes like you poured a whole galaxy into this cup. I love it." They shared laughter over their quirky breakfast rituals, but it was in the med bay where their true partnership shone. Wren's talent for diagnostics complemented Michael's quick decision-making skills in emergency situations. Their teamwork turned into a well-choreographed dance, each move fluid and instinctive. During one particularly chaotic shift, an emergency alert blared through the station. A mining vessel had suffered a catastrophic malfunction, and multiple injured crew members were being rushed to the med bay. The atmosphere shifted instantly from calm to frantic, the weight of urgency settling over them like a heavy shroud. "Let's go," Michael shouted, adrenaline surging through him as he grabbed his medical kit. Wren followed close behind, her face a mask of determination. They arrived at the med bay just as the first patient was wheeled in, an unconscious miner with deep lacerations on his arms and legs, blood pooling beneath him. The sight made Michael's stomach twist, but he pushed a feeling aside. Get him stabilized, he barked, moving into action. While he worked to assess the miner's injuries, Wren expertly coordinated the other staff, directing them to prepare equipment and gather supplies. Their synergy was electric, a silent understanding guiding them as they navigated the chaos. Scalpel, Michael shouted, and without hesitation, Wren was at his side, handing him the instrument with precision. Thank you, he breathed, grateful for her quick response as he worked to stem the flow of blood. Hours passed in a blur, the pace relentless as more patients flooded into the med bay. Each case was more complicated than the last, and yet, through it all, Michael found solace in the steady presence of Wren. Switch with me, she said during a brief lull, pushing back a strand of hair that had fallen into her eyes. I need a moment to breathe. Sure, I've got this, he assured her, stepping into the space she had vacated. The moment she was free, Michael watched as she slipped away, her shoulders finally relaxing once she was out of the immediate chaos. After an intense few hours, the last of the injured crew members had been treated, and the med bay began to settle into a quieter rhythm. Michael wiped his brow, feeling the weight of exhaustion settle heavily on his shoulders. That was intense, he admitted, glancing over to where Wren was cleaning up. She caught his eye and smiled, her cheeks flushed from the adrenaline. We did it. Everyone is going to be okay, she replied, her voice laced with relief. Yeah, we make a pretty good team, Michael said, his heart swelling with pride as he looked around at the med bay. I couldn't have done it without you. As they finished cleaning up, Michael felt an overwhelming urge to celebrate their hard work, to acknowledge the connection they had built. Hey, what do you say we grab dinner tonight? Just the two of us, away from all of this. Wren's eyes lit up, her smile infectious. I would love that. How about we try that new restaurant that just opened on the promenade? Perfect choice, he agreed, a surge of excitement coursing through him. After their shift ended, they quickly changed and made their way to the promenade. The restaurant was a chic, vibrant place, with neon lights casting playful patterns on the walls and a lively crowd of patrons. The ambience was filled with laughter and the enticing aroma of alien cuisine, tantalizing their senses. They found a cozy corner table, the atmosphere warm and inviting. As they settled in, Wren scanned the menu, her brow furrowing slightly. Everything looks so good. I can't decide what to get. Let's order a bunch of different dishes and share. That way we can try everything, Michael suggested, leaning forward with enthusiasm. It'll be like a culinary adventure. Wren laughed, her eyes twinkling. I'm in. You always have the best ideas. They ordered an array of dishes, spicy fried tentacles, vibrant vegetable skewers, and a shimmering, luminescent dessert that looked like it belonged in a galaxy far, far away. As the food arrived, they dug in eagerly, each bite bursting with flavors that delighted their taste buds. Wow, this is incredible, Wren exclaimed, her eyes widening as she tried the tentacles. How did I not know about this place before? I guess we'll have to make it a regular spot, Michael said, his heart swelling as he watched her enjoy the meal. He found joy in her laughter, in the way her face lit up with every new dish they sampled. As the evening wore on, the conversation shifted from light-hearted banter to deeper topics, dreams, fears, and the future they envisioned for themselves. Michael felt a sense of vulnerability as he shared his aspirations to become a lead surgeon one day, a desire that had burned within him since childhood. I've always wanted to make a difference, he confessed, looking down at his plate. But sometimes it feels overwhelming. There's so much pressure to succeed. Wren reached across the table, placing her hand over his. You're already making a difference, Michael. Every life you save is a testament to your dedication. You have a gift, and I believe you'll achieve everything you set your mind to." Her words wrapped around him like a warm embrace, filling him with a sense of purpose. "Thank you, Ren. That means a lot coming from you." As they finished their meal, Michael couldn't help but steal glances at her, captivated by the way the restaurant lights reflected in her eyes. There was something special about the way she carried herself, a quiet strength that drew him in. "Ready for dessert?" he asked, the playful glint in his eyes returning. "Absolutely. Let's see what this luminous creation is all about," she replied, her enthusiasm infectious. When the dessert arrived, it was a mesmerizing sight, glittering layers of colorful gelatin that shimmered like stars against a dark plate. They took their time savoring each bite, the flavors bursting on their tongues, and the conversation flowed effortlessly. "I've never felt so at ease with someone before," Ren admitted, her gaze sincere as they shared stories of their childhood. "It's like we've known each other for ages." Michael nodded, feeling the same sense of comfort and familiarity. "I know what you mean. It's rare to find someone who just gets you, you know." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. He wanted to tell her how much she had come to mean to him, how he felt a connection that transcended their roles in the med bay. As they finished their dessert, Michael took a deep breath, summoning the courage to express the feelings that had been building inside him. "Ren, I really enjoy spending time with you. I feel like we're building something special together." She looked at him, her expression thoughtful, and the weight of his words settled around them. "I feel it too, Michael. There's something about our connection that feels different. It's exciting and terrifying at the same time." The atmosphere between them shifted, a palpable tension brewing in the air. Michael felt the urge to bridge that space, to pull her closer and explore the depths of what they shared. "What do you want from this, from us?" he asked, his heart racing. Ren hesitated for just a moment, her eyes searching his. "I want to see where this goes. I want to explore this connection and see what it can become." With that, the walls around them seemed to crumble, and a sense of exhilaration washed over Michael. "Me too," he said, a smile breaking across his face. "Let's take this journey together, wherever it leads us." Ren's smile mirrored his own, radiant and filled with promise. Together, then. As they left the restaurant, the vibrant energy of the promenade enveloped them, the starlit sky of a perfect backdrop for the budding romance that had ignited between them. They walked side by side, fingers brushing against one another, the simple touch igniting sparks of anticipation. "Where to next?" Ren asked, glancing up at the sky. "Let's head to the observation deck. I want to show you the view of the nebula," Michael suggested, his heart racing at the thought of sharing such a breathtaking sight with her. When they reached the observation deck, the vastness of space unfolded before them, a breathtaking panorama of swirling colors and shimmering stars. Michael stepped closer to Ren, feeling the pull of gravity in their shared silence, the beauty of the cosmos reflecting the emotions swirling within him. "Wow," she breathed, gazing up at the stars. "It's stunning." "Almost as stunning as you," Michael murmured, feeling bold. Ren turned to him, her expression softening. "You really know how to make a girl blush," she said, her voice teasing yet filled with warmth. They stood close, the tension between them palpable as they shared this moment beneath the stars. Michael could feel his heart pounding as he gazed into Ren's eyes, the universe around them fading into insignificance. "Ren," he said softly, "I want you to know that whatever happens, I'm in this for the long haul. You mean more to me than I can express." Her eyes sparkled with unspoken emotions, and for a brief moment, time stood still. "I feel the same way, Michael. This, whatever this is, it's real, and I want to explore it with you." The words hung in the air like a promise, wrapping around them in a cocoon of hope and desire. With a sense of urgency, Michael leaned closer, and their lips met in a kiss that felt electric, a melding of souls, a shared moment that transcended the boundaries of their previous lives. As they pulled away, breathless and full of unspoken promises, the stars above twinkled in approval, as if acknowledging the connection that had blossomed between them. In that instant, Michael knew they were bound by something far greater than chance. Together, they would navigate the complexities of their lives and the challenges that lay ahead, united by the spark that had ignited in the depths of the universe.